may not look like it, but I'm in a lot of pain right now. So I'm going to do this in an effort to kind of distract myself from it and have something fun to do while I'm at it. Because, yeah, I'm not feeling very well. So, anyway, today's card is stressless and it's kind of long. Spend 15 minutes writing a list of everything that's bothering you, then throw the list away. This is an exercise that I have experience with actually. The first time I ever heard of such a technique, I was in 7th grade. It was my English class. It was also toward the end of the semester. My teacher at the time asked us to pull out a piece of paper, split it in half, to write down anything in our mind that may be interfering with our focus. I think the final test, the final exam, was going to be the next day. It was either the next day or the week after, something like that. And she was guiding us through it. She was like, anything at all, let it be. Your tooth hurts, your dog is getting surgery, your grandma has been sick, your parents got into an argument, anything at all, or someone in school telling you mean things, little things like that. I sincerely wish I remembered what I wrote down. I don't remember at all. I'm not sure if it's because my 7th grade was a particularly good year. I do not recall anything bad happening, anything that gave me anxiety. The only bad experience I have is if you were to look at my school yearbook, there is a guy whose face I completely blacked out with a pen, and I crossed over the name, and I mean, I absolutely destroyed that. And he happened to be, in my eyes, unattractive anyway. So, in a sense, it was some kind of therapy. But the only thing that I can say was a big incident for me was when this stupid idiot decided that when we were out in the soccer field just playing, it was called something like intramurals, something like that. I forget what it's called. But sometimes we would have that in the mornings. It was like a 15 to 20-minute playtime that we only got occasionally. It wasn't something that was happening all the time. And this happened either at the beginning of school, say the beginning of class, meaning that whatever first class you had would be like cut by 20 minutes to accommodate this, or it was in the midday. I sincerely do not remember. I want to say it was early because I remember that the sun was not quite bright like it is at noon. It was like a dawn kind of appearance to the sky, and I don't remember being hot or anything like that. But anyway, what this guy did was, I have never been physically the most gifted person. Sometimes when I run, or at least at the time, it doesn't happen much as an adult now, but I used to kind of stumble with my own feet, with my own legs. Sometimes the way I had to deal with that was I would kind of lean over a little bit, and then leaning over made me more conscious about the positioning of my feet, something like that, to where I could keep them apart in a way to where I wouldn't trip over myself. Whatever it was that was causing it, I never quite knew. But in the soccer fields, if you've ever been in them, or maybe if you've ever been in one that's from a poor school district like mine was, I would imagine mine didn't have the best maintenance. It had holes that you couldn't see, that the grass was like long enough to conceal them. And I guess I nearly tripped on one of them, but I was able to pull myself up. But because I had twisted my ankle slightly, I was kind of like limping and leaning over. And to help myself balance, I was kind of like moving my shoulders kind of like this. I can't explain it. I just remember whole ankle pain, and then me trying to balance myself to keep myself from falling, but also not putting too much weight on my foot. Well, this stupid boy saw me doing that, and he thought that I was trying to show my boobs to some girls because I was leaning over, and I guess whatever top I was wearing might have been a little bit open. Nothing dramatic, nothing to like expose anything. But this idiot decided to turn it into I'm gay. And he was going around saying that that's something I did. And he also said, well, she also says that she doesn't like boys, because at the time in middle school I used to say that. I used to say I hate boys. I don't like boys. Boys are gross, because I am going to school to study, but it doesn't mean that I don't find men attractive. For instance, anytime I watched movies, I could point at an actor that I thought was good looking. I never did that about the women though. So where he got that idea from, I have no idea, but at the time, to be accused of being gay, it was a big deal, at least in my district. I'm not going to speak for other places. I'm not going to say that this is just an exclusive problem that we had, or that other places have it worse, or that other places don't have it as bad. I don't know. I can only talk about the school district I went to. But maybe other people will be able to say that it had been a bad thing for them too. But anyway, I didn't care sincerely. I just looked at it as, oh, look at this idiot being more idiotic than he can ever be. Fortunately, words never had impact on me. If it came from a source, that's not important to me. Now, if it had been a teacher, if it had been my mom, if it had been a guidance counselor, their words had power over me because I looked at them as authority figures and I was raised to respect authority figures. But it didn't mean that all adults inherently had that power, because if I allowed that, it is possible that I could have been one of those cases in which I may run into an adult who maybe had bad intentions and starts taking advantage of you. And if you guys remember my video from maybe 6 years ago where I was describing the worst person I ever met, that was an example of some old ass guy trying to pick up someone like 30 years, 40 years younger than him, and how because I wasn't impressionable, I wasn't manipulable, he couldn't get away with it. I knew what his intentions were, but I'm sad that if he was doing that, it was because it probably worked on somebody before, somebody who matched my status at the time. With something like this, a classmate saying shit about me, it meant nothing to me. As long as you didn't put your hands on me, which to this day I still say this, you can call me whatever you want, you can say whatever you want about me, as long as you don't fucking touch me. Don't put your filthy hands on me, ever. You can say that my mom is fat. You can call me an ugly ass bitch. You can say that I have no class. Tell me whatever you want. You guys in the comments who throughout the years have said shit to me, what do? I clap back at you. Or I'm like, oh, thank you for saying da 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 da, or exposing yourself as a idiot who doesn't have anything better to say, things like that. I'm just glad that even as far back as middle school, I had that kind of an attitude to where I determined which words I allowed to have impact on me and from whom. How does that tie into this? Again, I wish I could remember what it was that I wrote at the time, but I like that memory because it's a memory that served me without even knowing at the time that I had a good defense. It's not like, oh my God, I'm still traumatized up to this day that when I was in middle school, that happened to me. I went through high school and I did not remember that incident at all. I only remember the incident when I had the displeasure of crossing paths with this clown. As I'm editing, I realized that I didn't mention that the reason this had the potential of being a very destructive moment was because one of my teachers was asking me about that. Well, this boy is going around saying that you're gay and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and I don't care. And then other people in the hallway too, they were like, so we just found out that you don't like boys or something. And I'm like, God, no. I mean, have you seen them? Have you seen how they act, how gross they are, how they dress, da, 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 things like that. Meaning that the boys used to be more athletic, more outgoing. Therefore, they're not going to appear well groomed throughout class while class is in session because they just worked up a sweat and things like that. In most cases, they may not necessarily have the best hygiene as a result, whereas I was always that cleaner person because I wasn't athletic. But it's something that I grew up valuing because mom always emphasized the importance of having a clean appearance. So that's what was acting upon me at the time. But I didn't care because ultimately what I do doesn't impact you in any way. So what if I would have actually been like that? How would that affect you in the slightest? The only way that can affect somebody is if you're interested in picking that person up anyway. But if this person is not interested in you picking them up, and on top of that, I happened to not be into that anyway at that time, why? Why is that relevant? And the girls could have tried to pick me up if there were any of them out there, and I would have enjoyed rejecting them, particularly so. Like, ew, you nasty. Ugh. Like I said, I could have handled that any number of ways had it escalated even more, but that led to me having a lot of attention on me, and it was a weird kind of attention. But fortunately, I always knew that I was straight anyway. It didn't really matter, but I was not interested in what my school had to offer. When you're only 12 years old, that's not even supposed to be something in your mind. And I'm telling you that at the time, that was not in my mind. But I don't think that even he remembered that he did that bullshit because this was his inherent attitude. So now, as an adult, if I were able to do this, if I were to write down a list of the things that are bothering me, I honestly don't have much to write because it's just stuff that's a part of being an adult that you just have to process and get over. But in middle school, during that time, I would say that maybe the worst thing I had going on was probably my daddy issues still affecting me, but I don't think that's what I wrote on that card. But I vividly remember that. I remember the sound of paper being crumbled up and people going to the recycling bin to toss that piece of paper. But let's see, as an adult, I mean, can I get rid of my pain? No. Can I get rid of things like my period? No. Can I get rid of my bad vision? No. Money problems are something that are going to exist for everybody in their own way. So it's not like, oh my God, I gotta write down the fact that money is tight or something like that and then throw it away. That ain't gonna fix anything. I think that's childish. And if you need more money, there's the option of working more. And fortunately for me, I'm not in the situation yet to where that's what I have to do. I have to get out there and grind on my day off and make it work. Like nothing like that, fortunately. And then there's nothing wrong with my car. There's nothing really wrong at work except for whatever stories I may bring you, which yesterday I had a lady try to give me shit over something. I'm not going to create a separate video about it. I'll just go ahead and tell you here. She was complaining about how she mixed all of her grapes into one bag and she was telling me they're all the same price. And I'm like, okay, but I had to separate the green vine from the red vine from the black vine, and I had to weigh them individually. And she was like, well, can I get you to not do that? And I'm like, no, I have to do this. And she was like, well, it's just that I don't want them to touch the scale. And I'm like, well, what do you suggest? But I kept working as she was talking, and she was like, but you're not giving me the option. And I'm like, okay, what's your option? What's your solution? Then for the final one that I left behind in the bag, I didn't put those on the scale. I didn't need to. But usually for items that have a definite shape, such as, let's say that you put red apples and green apples in the same bag, I can, within the bag, split the bag into red, I'll weigh the red ones first, therefore I can keep them inside the bag, but push them toward the scale to where only half of the bag with the single color apples are making it on the scale. Let's pretend this is a bag full of apples. I will take the red apples, place them here, and let's pretend this is the edge of my scale. I will place this portion of the bag with the apples over the scale. And then when I'm done, I'll push them to the side and the remaining color is what gets weighed next. I can do that, but when you have something with an indefinite shape, such as a grape, vine, and grapes attached to it, there's really no way for me to do that method because what's going to happen is maybe one of the green ones is going to contaminate the red ones that I'm weighing, or maybe for the next round I'll be weighing two colors at the same time on top of the other one, something like that. You know, it's just a mess. There's no right way to split grapes within the bag. If she really had those specifications and those concerns, she could have gone to self-checkout. And this resulted in me having a question for my manager now. I want to ask him, so whoever monitors self-checkout, if they see one of these animals doing this, what are we supposed to do? Do we intervene or do we let it go? Because I don't think it's fair for me to have expectations upon me and I'm actually doing the job right, but over there, we shouldn't tell them anything because you don't want to confront the customer. This is going to be a good conversation. He hates it when I bring questions like that because this is an example of a nuanced question, and you guys know that I do not accept nuance, black or white. So yeah, you guys, I'm sorry to tell you, I really don't have anything to write down and throw it away. Family issues, those will continue to exist, and I can cope with them just fine. They don't interfere with me. My mind is pretty peaceful at the moment. I've been telling myself for the past week that I've been feeling just fine, just great. I haven't had any meltdowns, haven't had any emotional distresses since late July, I want to say. I don't know what happened, but I'm grateful. And what happened is I stick to my plan. I believe in what I'm doing, I believe in myself, and I go with it. I know that sounds very like basic and corny, but that's what I'm saying. I don't change. I don't change because I defined myself and I feel like that is what's keeping me just fine, doing fine. You know, I don't need to be drugging my mind. I don't need to be getting drunk to escape my thoughts or pain, nothing like that. And I think that that is an achievement on its own. I mean, I don't run away from pain. I thought about it as I ramble. I keep trying to think about it, but nothing comes to mind that, you know, a list of things bothering me. I mean, work, I wish I could quit it and not have to work for any clowns in corporate America, right? But I have to. It's just those things that are part of life that you just have to cope with. And writing them down and throwing it away is not going to take my mind away from it because I got to report back tomorrow for a 4-day stretch. And then next week is that shitty week they gave me in which I have to work 5 days. And I'm like, I'm part time. Why are you giving me 5 days? I guess I could write about that, but again, I can't write it down and just throw it away because it's gonna bother me. It's already bothering me because it's close by, you know, it's about to happen. But, anyways, you guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what it is that you would write down or if you have done this exercise, if you're willing to share. And yeah, take it from there because I can't believe that I'm blank. If you had asked me maybe like 2, 3 years ago, oh, it would have been lit. But I'm glad that I don't because it's a sign of progress. It's also a sign that I'm not holding on to anything in my mind that's bringing me down like I used to. Because boy, could I tally this shit up. But not anymore. It's like I just feel better with my brain offloaded, if that makes sense. Okay, bye.